Bonjour everyone and welcome back to my channel, The Waves of Your Soul. Today's video is going to be a very chilled, light-hearted viewing. I'm just going to be sharing with you some of the new Tarot and Oracle decks that have come into my collection. Those are the decks that have come into my life in the last 3 to 4 months, so since I'd say Christmas. Just wanted to share them with you. I wanted to film something very easy and light-hearted and fun because I've not been filming for a while, and so I wanted to get back into the swing of things, doing something that I enjoyed, which is sharing with you some cute and cool decks. So I've got some Oracle decks, I've got some Tarot decks, I've got some indie and mass market decks, I've got some English decks and some French decks. It's decks galore. So I hope you make yourself comfortable because we've got a lot to get through. And if it is your first time here, hi, my name is Marine. I'm a French tarot reader and a lover of everything tarot, oracle and self-empowerment related. On this channel I love doing empowering tarot readings because I love reading the cards, and I also love sharing which cards I use, the decks I use, the decks I love, why I love them, or the ones I don't love, why I don't love them. So if you want to see any of the things on your timeline, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell, all of that. And you can also find me on Instagram. I never really shout out my Instagram, but I'm trying to get a bit better at it. And I share quite a lot on my stories, Instagram, etc. So if you want to see a little bit more, you can check out my Instagram as well, and all the details are in the description box. So without further ado, let's get into my Tarot and Oracle deck haul. There is 8 or 9 of them, so it's gonna be quite epic. Let's get into it. So if you're new on this channel, you might be thinking, why so many decks at once? Well, let me give you just a little quick background story. I currently live on a tropical island in the middle of the Indian Ocean called Reunion Island. Since COVID, and even more so now with the war in Europe, the shipping has been horrendous. Things can take up to 1 year to 1 year and a half to get to me. And so what has happened for the last year and a half or so is that I tend to get decks all at once when a ship arrives, maritime transport arrives on the island, from things that I would have bought over the course of a few months, sometimes even of a few years. They tend to come all at once, and then there'll be a dry spell for a few months where I won't get anything, and then suddenly everything arrives at once again. So that's just why there's quite a lot of them here. On top of that, in the month of April, one of my really good friends decided to come and visit me in Reunion Island. It was wonderful, we had such a good time. But she very kindly agreed to help me bring me back some decks that I had ordered that I couldn't get to me because of the problems here with transport, postage, etc. just being impossible / non-existent. I'm waiting for so many packages still. Some of them date back from even 2020. It's teaching me patience. It's teaching my Aries ass patience. And obviously it's very first world problem, so I'm not complaining. There are much more worse things in the world. So this is why I have quite a lot of decks to show you as well today, because when someone comes to Reunion Island and can actually be bringing me something physically, I'm gonna make the most of it, because it happens once a year max. So I'm please, be my mule, be my deck mule. Okay, so that's it. I think that's giving you the little background of why I'm doing this deck haul now. Start with the one that I received the earliest. So I actually have this one since I'd say maybe beginning of March, and it is the Smoke, Ash and Embers Tarot. This is a pre-order that I had made, I can't remember when it was. It must have been end of 2021, right? People who have bought this deck would let me know. This is an indie tarot deck, and it's created by 3 Trees Tarot, which is impossible to say when you have a French accent. But they are the same people who have created the oak, what is it called? Oak, Thorns, something. This is Smoke, Ash and Embers. The other one is Oak something. I didn't get that other one, but if you know, you know. They've already made another tarot deck and it's beautiful, and so this is their second deck. And of course I'll put the links to their website and everything below. So as per usual, anything indie, I share where you can buy it in the description box, because we want to be supporting the artists and the creators, and we want to make sure we buy it at the right place. This is a dragon theme deck, And first off, let's talk about the quality of this deck. Everything is what I like. One of the first things I love about this deck is that even though it's a tuck box, and a lot of people, you know, are not into tuck box, I thought it was really nicely produced, and the paper is really, it's quite thick, it's wonderful quality, and everything is done with like ecological, sustainable mind. So it's made with, you know, vegetable-based ink, and I think the printing place is carbon neutral. So those are all small things that, you know, nowadays make me happy to see. So I always want to shout out when creators and artists decide to try and make their decks more ecologically friendly. Is that even how you say it in English? I don't know. I'm so tired and I haven't filmed in a long time, like I said, so I'm apologizing if I'm not making sense and making up a lot of stuff. So like I said, it's a dragon themed deck, so you're gonna see a lot of dragons. I love dragons, I'm obsessed with dragons, so when I saw this deck I knew it was made for me. This is why I pre-ordered it as soon as it was announced. These are the backs. They are the one thing that I'm not a fan of, because this is the up, and this is the reversed. And personally, I see this more as the up, because the dragon, you can see the face up. But actually, the right way up is like this with the dragon. I think the idea is that the dragon is supposed to be nestled in the leaves, etc., like as if it was like hiding in the tree kind of thing, which is cute, but instinctively I always think it's the wrong way up. So that's the one thing I'm not a fan of about it, but it's just obviously super personal preference. Everything else I adore about this deck, and this is a deck I used the most in the month of March. I've used it all month long. I've not been able to put it down, and it's been wonderful. So it's an RWS based deck. For anyone who's familiar with that system, you will see we have your wands, your swords, etc., so it's very easy to read. And as you can see, it is dragons on every single card. However, they have maintained the elemental idea of the dragons, because for pentacles, the dragons have more like leaves on their tails and they're in the forest habitat. For cups, the dragons are more water dragons. For air, they are more your stereotypical full-on big wings kind of dragons. You know, so there is this idea here, as you can see, this Nine of Cups. I think one of the most beautiful cards, honestly. I love dragonflies, and I think it's gorgeous, this little drag peacefully sleeping. But as you can see, this dragon here for the cups looks more like a water-based dragon. So I think they've kept the element beautifully. Of course, the artwork is absolutely stunning. This is made by, I think, Adam Hollers. I'm not sure how you say their last name, so I'm sorry if I'm butchering this. But it's absolutely stunning artwork, and the creation was by Stephanie Burrows, I believe, and they've together done an incredible job, I think, at conveying the archetypal and messages of the tarot, but taking us into this fantastical, magical kind of like dragon world, where the dragons are not necessarily all fierce, but actually some of them can also be more soothing and gentle and kind. So I like this mix. There are two Ten of Swords. There is one that is very graphic, like this one, and there is another one that is a lot less violent looking. We'll see if we bump into it. I've kept both of mine in. I tend to do that when decks come with extra cards, unless I really don't like the card that is suggested. I sometimes leave all of them in, like, because I'm thinking if two of them comes in, then it means I really need to pay attention to that particular message. I think this deck is absolutely beautiful. It speaks to my inner child that loves nature, that loves dragons. Like I said, some of the dragons are very fierce and some of them look more playful and kind and gentle, like in this Three of Cups, for example. So I love this variety, because we oftentimes see dragons as being very fierce, very like powerful, wise, ancient, and it's nice to see them in a more gentle kind of manner, even though there's definitely balance in this deck. It speaks to me very clearly, like look at this tower, it's beautiful. And this deck is set up in the same world as their previous deck, the one that I can't remember the name of, Oak Thorn. It's still not there. So it's set up in the same universe, which is in this beautiful kind of magical forest. The first deck they brought out had squirrels and, you know, forest woodland creatures, and so you will see some nods to that first tarot decks in this particular deck. So if you do have the other one, you'll definitely recognize some of the characters. Here we have little rabbits, etc. But if you're like me and you don't have the first one and you just really want it for the dragons kind of like magical perspective, then you'll still very much enjoy it. The way the artist has managed to use the light in every single card is, I think, really well done, and overall it's just a joy. So this one is actually the one I've used the most out of the ones that I'm going to show you, and I can tell you it's a favorite, and I'm gonna be cherishing for a long time. So it did come with extra little cards, just so you know, with like keywords and stuff. And we also had a little thank you card for the pre-orders. I don't know if it's gonna be included for every single deck now, but we also had this part. I think this extra card that was included was only for the people who had the first batch, like we pre-ordered. I don't know if you'll get that particular card now, but the deck is definitely available on their website, and again I'll put the link of it below. Whilst we're on the subject of indie tarot deck, let me show you the two decks that I bought for myself for my birthday. I made an order to the website Roi de Coupe, which is a French-based indie deck online shop. Well, that's not English. French based, so it's based in France. Indie deck, it sells indie deck, and it's an online shop. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'll put the link of their website below. Again, this is not sponsored, I just enjoy buying from them because they sell a lot of indie decks, and because it's like the only place right now that I can buy where I know I'm gonna get the decks. Everything else is just not delivering, but because this is coming from France, and it's coming on like express shipping, I'm actually getting the decks, you know, in like 3 weeks ish, which is super fast for me. So for my birthday, from me to me, I got two decks that I wanted for a really long time. The first one is the Moonchild Tarot by Danielle Noël. So I have the Starchild Tarot, the French edition. Let me try and grab it. The Starchild Tarot by Danielle Noël came out in French mass market quite recently, I think like at the beginning of the year. So I have it, I've been using it, I talk about it in my last haul, etc. So I'll link that somewhere so you can watch it if you want to know more. But this is her other deck, which is indie, and we'll see if it gets picked up by mass market, etc. But I just really wanted it, so I didn't want to wait. And the box, first of all, like everything about this deck feels very luxe, like it feels like you're full on indie experience, and a lot of you will know, I'm sure, this deck. It's like it's been out for a long time, it's seen a lot on social media, etc. And it's like very well known in the tarot community. I'm just very late to the party. Look at these beautiful insights, by the way. The guidebook is so chunky, and there's a lot to get into. This is still in order because I've not had it for that long, and I've not really been playing with it. I've looked at the cards, etc., but I've not used it yet. Like I said, I've been using the Dragons deck the most, and everything I'm going to show you from now is going to be first impressions because they all came to my life very recently, so I've not had a chance to use them yet. But of course I'm going to be talking about them again in my future favorites video, etc. So stay tuned. This is just a haul showing you what I got, and then you'll get my full-on impressions in future videos. So these are the backs, and it's pre-edged in this very beautiful antique kind of gold, and this is a collage style deck that is called the Moonchild, so you're gonna see it's very ethereal, very cosmic vibes. I've been wanting this deck since, I don't know, years, honestly, since I saw it on Instagram when it was first coming out, and I just never got around to it. And then I think in like 2020 I bought the deck and it never arrived. So I had this like personal grudge of like, I already bought the deck and it never showed up, so I don't want to have to buy it again. But then I was on the website from Roi de Coupe that I was telling you about, and I was like, well, it's there, I can get it quite quickly. maybe I should just give it a go. If I like it, I'll keep it. If I don't like it, I can always resell it or trade it, etc. And I'm not really excited to finally have it. Like, I feel like I was just being silly holding grudges against the deck for never getting to me the first time, because I do really love this imagery. I do really feel like I will resonate with it very well, and I do feel already the pull to work with it very much. So I'm gonna be, I think, moving on to this one after now that I'm kind of like worked a lot with the dragon deck that I've just shown you. I think this is the next one I'm gonna be using because I can't wait to get my hands on it, honestly. I'm really drawn to this particular imagery. I love the Egyptian kind of feel. If you don't know, I love mythology, and especially Greek mythology and Egyptian mythology, and this definitely has a lot of like Egyptian vibes, and it's just gorgeous. Like, this is just hashtag aesthetic, right? This is very aesthetic, very beautiful. Like, I know I'm gonna be feeling my full-on tarot reader fantasy when I pull those cards, and sometimes that's what you want. I'm curious to see how I'm gonna read with it, because I've heard a lot of different things from a lot of different people. Some people say that it falls very flat, that it's just very pretty but doesn't read very well, and for some people they're saying that it's the most beautiful deck for them, that it really pulls out their intuition, that it's great for projecting and dream work or intuition work, etc. So I'm very curious to work. I think obviously from the ethereal vibes, etc., I'm seeing this deck more as to be used personally for maybe spiritual readings, or readings maybe for the new moon, full moon, etc. But we'll see. Maybe it's gonna end up being a very day-to-day, mundane deck for day-to-day reading. I don't feel that yet. I'm not sure. But of course, I'll report back when I, next time I'll talk to you in my favorites, etc., or future videos. But just look at this. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love this Eight of Cups very much. It's one of my favorite kind of deck. The colors, and I think it's beautiful. It's been years in the making of me owning this deck, and finally I can make my opinion. I'm also very excited to get into the guidebook because it's quite chunky, and I think Daniel Noel is actually soon releasing an Ocean Oracle deck, and girl, can I tell you, I'm so excited. As soon as someone releases anything ocean related, I am like, sign me up, I am here, yes please. So I think that will be really fun as well when she releases it, to use this with the Oracle deck. I don't know when it's out, maybe it is already out, I don't know. I need to check it out, but I'm very excited for it. Okay, let's move on. The second indie deck that I got from Roi de Coupe, from me to me for my birthday, and the reason why I made the order in the first place was to get the Children of Litha Tarot. This is an indie deck, like I was saying. I'm not sure if I think the creator is Chinese. I might be wrong, but they're based in Asia, but I'm not sure where exactly. But it was quite difficult for me to get the deck. Again, I've been wanting it for a while, and then when I saw that Roi de Coupe was, because this has been out for at least like 2 or 3 years, I think, at least 2 years. So I've been wanting it for a while, but the fact that it was sent from Asia, it was quite difficult for me to purchase and to get here. So when it finally arrived on the Roi de Coupe website, I was like, okay, this is meant to be. So it comes with this beautiful little full color guidebook, which actually I've already read and I'm obsessed. So when I make my part 2 video of best guidebooks, if you don't know, I've made already a first video about the best guidebooks in my opinion that comes with tarot decks. I'll try and put the card somewhere up here. And you seem to have really enjoyed this video thing, and so I actually, after doing it, I realized there was a few guidebooks I didn't mention. And obviously now receiving some new decks, I'm discovering new guidebooks, and this is beautiful. This is beautiful, and I wanted to mention it in this particular video because I've loved it so much. It's beautiful because for every card, not only do you get a meaning of the card, and especially important why the artist decided to depict the card this way, which I love. I hate when a guidebook is just a pure tarot guidebook that has nothing to do with the image that is made, because I'm like, okay, well, I could have just bought a book about tarot then. If you're gonna create the fool looking like this, tell me why. Why is a bird? Why is it girl at the top of the cliff, you know, explain your artistic choices. That's what I want in guidebooks personally. Again, my opinion, personal preferences. This guidebook does that, which I love. On top of that, you also get a poem for each of the cards, and the poem is so beautiful and it's just gorgeous. So this is, you know, I'm loving the guidebook already, and it's a beautiful addition to the deck. Now let's get into this deck. So this deck has been out for, like I said, a few years, and it's been on my wish list for at least 2 years, maybe 3, and I'm really excited to have it. So these are the backs, and it is this like very rose petal finish, which I think that's what you say. Again, I'm not very pro at like talking about cardstock, but I think people say rose petal, which doesn't make much sense to me because we don't have really a lot of roses where I live. I live on a tropical island. So if you tell me it feels like frangipani flowers or like palm tree, then I'm like, oh, okay, palm tree finish. I can get on board with that. Or like pineapple leaf finish. You know, I'll get you there. But rose petal, I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I haven't touched many rose petals in my life to be able to really know what it feels like. But it's like very matte, almost sticky kind of cardstock, which some people love, some people hate. I don't really mind. Like, if you haven't watched any of my other videos, then I'll tell you now, I'm the kind of person that don't really care about cardstock, as long as it's not too thick that I can't even manipulate it, or too thin that it will disintegrate. I'm not really bothered, you know. The artwork is amazing, and this is why I really wanted the deck, and I've been, you know, it's been on my wish list for so long. So I'm, again, with the Moonchild, probably the 2 decks that have been on my wish list for the longest. As you can see, the deck is very animal inspired. Like in the majors, all the characters are half animals, half humans, and then in the minors we are going into full-on animal deck. Now I love animals. I love animal oracle decks. I have quite a few. For tarot, I am more picky, and normally I'm not the biggest fan of having a different animal for each card. I'll make an exception for this one because it makes sense, because every single suit, it's like a family of animals. So for example, for the cups, it's only water animals, which makes a lot of sense because the cups are linked to water. The coin cards are full-on humans, but they also all have some kind of a animal friend with them, which I find gorgeous. For the pentacles, all the animals are like horns related. So this is my Aries and Capricorn suit. There's a lot of goats and, you know, deers and things like that, which is gorgeous. And then for your swords, it's all very birds and, you know, animals that can fly, insects, etc. And finally the wands are like feline and like foxes and lions. Like I said, this is still in order. I've not read with it yet, but I've read the guidebook and I flicked through it, and I'm super excited to be using this deck. I will say what surprised me already straight away from the first like impression I have of the deck is how beautiful the deck is. The colors are vibrant, it feels very soothing, etc. But some of the cards, especially the night cards, are quite violent. Like the night cards are full-on violent knights. Those knights are not there to play. Look at this one, it's literally like piercing the head of a, I guess, dragon-looking creature. So the knights are there to defend. They're not there to like look pretty and just parade. They're there to fight. They're there to literally go to war, which I think is very interesting. And it's the case for all of the knights. Look at this 6 of swords. It's beautiful. I love this page of sword. Very, very beautiful. Look at this. The Knight of Swords literally piercing through, what is that? Some kind of mythological creature. Is that a griffin? I'm not sure. And let me find some of the... So here are the wands. Look at this knight of, again, literally fighting off this monster here. So I found that very interesting, that the knights are all warriors. They're not just there to look pretty or parade or look around, which in some decks knights can be. This is very I'm a knight to go to war. I'm there to fight. I'm there to defend. The creator is Alexandria Huntington. Again, I'll put the link to their website below. Okay, let's move on to the next one I wanted to show you in this deck haul, and this is an oracle deck, a mass market oracle deck that is actually a French version of a English indie deck. So this is called The Connected and Free by Lauren Aleta, and this is saying French edition because this is, like I was saying, the mass market translated version of an oracle deck that is normally in the English version indie. So we love when that happens because it means it's much cheaper for us to buy it in French because it's available in your local bookshop, etc., which is actually where I got mine. So this is beautifully produced. This is actually the oracle deck, the companion to the Lumina Tarot. If you know the Lumina Tarot, I don't have it because it wasn't really my vibe, but it's the same creators, and the Lumina Tarot was also translated in French and released mass market for all of you who wanted it. So this retails for 32 euros. I got mine in my local bookshop. It comes in this beautiful big box with a really nice guidebook, and this particular French edition, Arcana Sacra, they do really nice guidebooks, they do really nice box sets, and they often translate a lot of indie decks, like English indie decks in French. There's the same people that did the Starchild Tarot, like mass market French. So as you can see, oh, there we go. The Lumina Tarot is by the same creators. So beautiful guidebook, full color. The boxes are a bit extra, I'm not gonna lie, because it's like a box. So it comes like this, and then inside here you have this, and the cards come in this. And it's a little bit, it's beautiful and everything, but it's just like, did we need that much? I don't know. To be honest, I would have probably been okay with like this box slightly thicker and the guidebook we've just seen as like a smaller guidebook that fits in it. Just my personal preference, because I find it easier to store than like this big ass box, which will probably end up going in my box drawer of shame, where the cards actually come in this little box, which is probably the box I will be storing my oracle in, because actually it's much more convenient. This is a beautiful, beautiful oracle deck. I don't even know how many cards there are, but quite a lot. Let me see if I can find it. 55, yeah, 55 cards. So I think already that's like really great size for me for an oracle card deck. This deck I've already played with a bit. I found it in my local bookshop just before my friend arrived. So we actually played with it while she was here. She's very non-familiar with tarot and oracle. She doesn't know anything about it, and so I was, you know, introducing her to it because she lives in France, so we hadn't really seen each other for a long time, and so it was my opportunity to like do some readings for her, and then she was drawing some cards with this to like kind of get to know oracle decks, etc. We did some tarot readings and stuff, and it was a really great experience to like use this deck with her. And also for me, I already know that this deck is going to be a beautiful deck to pair with many tarot decks, because as you can see, I feel like the artwork will pair beautifully with a lot of different decks, like modern and any kind of like colorful decks or anything like that. I feel like it's gonna go really well with. There are 7 chakra cards that I've mixed in that you can put separately, and then the keywords are well balanced. It's not just love and light, you know, but it's definitely tailored towards spirituality, personal development. I think you could do a little bit of kind of like predictive reading with this as well. So I think it's quite well suited for a lot of things. For example, here the keyword is slow down. Here we have transition. Here we have manifestation power. This is comparison. We have the sacral chakra, confirmation. This is the throat chakra, responsibility. The images are quite intuitive for the most part. Some of them might be a little bit less easy to like divine. So for example, this is let go. I'm not sure, there's something about these images that is telling me to let go if I can't read the keyword, but this for conflict makes sense. So each to their own, you'll decide if you can understand it or not. This is a mentor or the teacher. I can get that with the whale. I get that. This is a masculine, divine, feminine. Here we have decisions. That makes sense. Here we have soul knowing. Again, not sure I understand this as soul knowing. You know, we have a house. And this is more for me astrology related. So maybe in that sense, you know, getting to know your soul through the lens of astrology. This is like spiritual suffering. So there's definitely some interesting choices of keywords matched with images. It is though like easy to read if you are able to read the keywords, etc. And then the guidebook tells you everything, but you don't even really need the guidebook. I've used this paired with different tarot decks, and it was fairly easy to get a hang of it. I was just thinking for non-French speakers, I don't know if it would be a bit harder unless you're willing to translate some of the keywords and just familiarize yourself with the cards. Introducing my friends to Tarot and Oracle deck, she didn't know anything about it. She wanted readings, and she was just new to it all. So she was a little bit like apprehensive, you know, she was a little bit scared of getting bad cards. You know how people are when they've never touched tarot, etc. It can be a bit intimidating. So I always find that the Lightseers Tarot, let me show you, I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about, but for those of you who don't know the Lightseers, this is it. This is like my workhorse deck for reading for anyone who is new to tarot. When I do readings for others who don't really know tarot, etc., this is a deck I use. Always works, always resonates, people always bond with it, they always enjoy it, they always can understand what's going on. It's beautiful. It's just like, this is one of my most used decks for others at least. And so I was using this for my friend and she loved it, and you know, it really helped her to kind of familiarize herself with what tarot really is about. And that paired with this one was beautiful. So that's my experience with it this month. Obviously I'm going to continue using it and, you know, pair it with other things, and be sure to expect some more reviews of it in my future videos. But as a first impression already of me like playing with it with my friend, etc., it's a solid deck and I've been enjoying it. Okay, let's finally move on to the decks that my friend brought back kindly in her suitcase. Amazon doesn't deliver here where I live, and which may seem completely crazy to some of you who probably use Amazon to deliver everything, because I know you can get pretty much everything on Amazon these days. But we don't get Amazon where I live, and I had some Amazon voucher that people got me, and that I couldn't really use before because I couldn't get them to come here, etc. So when I found out that my friend was coming, I decided to use up my vouchers and grab some of the mass market decks I had been wanting that was quite hard for me to get here. So she kindly brought back 5 decks for me. Let's start with this tarot deck, mass market tarot deck. We have Tarot of the Sweet Twilight, and so this is a Lo Scarabeo deck, fairly affordable, in order, so all of those still in order because I'm like literally she left yesterday, my friend, so I haven't had a chance to play with them yet. But so you know, your regular talk box, etc. This is totally a Julie from Peekaboo Rose made me do it. If you don't know Julie's channel, I will put the link to her channel below. I loved her channel, and I really enjoyed Julie's energy and her thoughts, etc. Very interesting channel to watch for all of my tarot lovers. And Julie was showing this deck on one of her videos, I can't remember which one, and I fell in love with it. And it's one of those that I had kind of seen here and there before. I'd seen images, but I never fully paid attention to it really. I guess it wasn't its time, and then when Julie showed it, I was looking a little bit more at the images, and the kookiness and the weirdness and the blue color and everything happening in this like strange phantasmagorical Twilight world. Twilight as in the actual, you know, sunset, sunrise vibe, not like vampire Twilight. It just suddenly clicked, and I was like, wow, this is such a me deck. Like, why did I never really look at it? Because if you know me, you know I love anything fantasy. I do love some weird decks, not creepy weird, but more like fantasy, otherworldly, you know. I really enjoy those that will like pull at your imagination. And on top of that, the Strength card has a little Yoda on it, and that was it. I was sold. I was like, this is it. This is it. I don't need anything more than that for me to purchase the card. I'm in love with this little Yoda on Strength card. It's like brilliant, because Strength in French is force, and you know, the force in Star Wars, it's like it all makes sense that there's a little Yoda on here. Look at this death card, how poetic it is. This deck, like literal death, gently holding the person to take them on this journey. It's not a mean death, it's not a violent death, it's not a, you know, a very like cold death. It's the death that cares. It's the death that takes care of you while you're going on this journey. I find it so poetic, this death card. I really enjoy it. Another reason why I got the deck. A lot of the cards, when I took time to look, I was like, wow, I really underestimated this deck. Look at this tower. I love this tower because it is de-dramatizing the tower card. It's like tower moments can be atrocious, they can be traumatizing, they can be horrible, and yet it's all a question of perspective. If you manage to detach yourself slightly, to rework the way you look at things, to take maybe a bird's eye point of view, like this little person watching it from a higher point of view, it won't affect you as badly as if you are literally looking at it so closely and you know, being in the actual tower. So it's all about perspective and point of view and the distance you put within yourself and what's happening, and like your attitude and your mindset even during tower moments. So that I thought was a beautiful tower and something that helped me look at the tower maybe slightly differently. So I'm really excited to work with this deck, and I feel silly that I underestimated and didn't really, you know, research it before, but I'm very excited to now have it. And what I love about this deck particularly is that it's just very strange and weird, and some of the cards make a lot of sense, like this Six of Cups. It does make sense to me. Some of them are a bit more confusing, like this Seven of Cups, and yet I feel like it's gonna be beautiful for me to read intuitively. This is 100% gonna be a deck where I let my intuition do the talking. I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna be using this deck for like day-to-day readings or I don't know, like readings about financial matters, professional matters, or anything like that. I feel like this is a deck more so for me that I'm going to be using to tune into my intuition and to let my higher self and my guide speak to me. I feel like this would be a fantastic deck as well for creative writers out there, because there's a lot going on, there's fun stories that happened. You can really let your intuition speak here and fill in the blanks and connect the dots. And so even this Knight of Pentacles I find very interesting. It looks like the Knight of Pentacles was bored from being so stuck and grounded and decided to go on an adventure over water, which is so anti Knight of Pentacles. It's like the rebellion of the Knight of Pentacles, this card, to me anyway. It's like the Knight of Pentacles that decides to rebel, which is so anti its nature and yet fantastic at the same time. So you see what I mean? This deck is stretching already my actual knowledge of the card. It is helping me to look at things a bit differently, and I feel like it's gonna be a beautiful intuitive reader. I love this Ten of Wands, where instead of like using wands as a depiction of the burden, here we use connect like cords as in energetic cords. So what are you tying you down in terms of your relationship with others, the energetic cords with the society at large, with your thoughts, with others, etc. Like this is very cutting cord ritual vibes that needs to happen in order to be free from some burdens. So I love this depiction of the Ten of Wands as well. Overall, it's super interesting deck. I'm so excited to use it, like I was saying, intuitively. This deck is a surprise. Thank you, Julie, for putting it on my radar, because I would have not really been looking at it otherwise, and now I think it's gonna be very useful for me to expand my tarot knowledge, and I can think already of a ton of spreads. The other tarot deck my friend brought back for me, again mass market, Los Carabeo, is Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot. This has been out for a long time. Like this is an old deck. I think, I don't know what they copyrighted, but it's been out for a while. The reason why I got this deck is actually because it's part of a little project I decided to give myself for this year, which is to study a little bit deeper the Litha Tarot. This is actually like I was saying, mass market deck that is inspired by classical French and Italian deck, but most especially inspired by the Litha Tarot. So if you don't know, the Litha Tarot is the OG tarot deck. We often talk about the RWS, Tarot de Marseille, etc, etc. But the Litha Tarot, or you might know it as the Grand Litha, you can find it like I think now Grimaud does it mass market for fairly affordable, and I think it's like in English and in French. So the Litha Tarot is actually the first deck that was created with the intention of using it for a divination. Every other deck before that were decks that were used for playing games, but the Litha Tarot was the first deck that was created in order to divine, in order to actually fortune tell. And so this is the OG, from which a lot of the then divination tarot decks were based on. A deck that I want to study a lot more because of what it did for all the other tarot decks that came after. So as you can see, it has like, you can use it in reverse. It has the meaning upward and the meaning reversed. On some of the major arcana cards, you'll have like astrological association, etc. There's a lot going on with this deck. There's a ton to explore, and it's definitely an interesting like journey to see how this inspired so many decks, including like then all the Golden Dawn decks and the RWS, etc. So that was one of my projects this year, was to explore a little bit more the Litha Tarot. Because I've been like on this journey to find more books and study this particular deck, I discovered that there was this deck that was created much later. So this was like early 2000, I believe it was created by Paul Hanson, but he inspired himself from the Litha Tarot. As you can see, the major arcana are very like Marseille looking. You know, instead of like the High Priestess, it's the female Pope. So very Marseille majors, like Justice is in 8, so it very, very similar to, and so Fortitude or Strength is in 11. Definitely inspired from traditional Italian and French decks. Also inspired by Litha, especially for the minors. So I really wanted to use this as a study project, and then also because I find the artwork beautiful. So the minors are divided by colors, and so it's easy to recognize, right? Like the different suits, and actually each suit, just like in the Litha, is inspired by a different virtue. So I believe the coins are inspired by, I think, prudence, you know, the traditional virtue from like medieval times, etc. So then the cups are virtue of temperance, and we know temperance because it's also a major arcana card, right? The swords are inspired by the virtue of justice, another major arcana card. And finally the wands are inspired by the virtue of fortitude, another major arcana card, fortitude being strength. So it's very interesting, beautiful minor arcana, like I really enjoy it, but it does differ from what you're used to seeing in your tradition, in your like RWS, etc., because it's inspired by decks that came prior. So I thought that would be a really great and interesting kind of study project for me. I found a PDF, I think there's a separate guidebook that comes with this. I was gonna buy it and get my friend to bring it, but then I found that you can get a PDF. I think I'll need to like look for it again. And I think you can get the book on ebook version as well, which makes more sense for me because then it's like less stuff to carry around. The court cards are interesting because they are depicting a court card as well as a mythological person or biblical person. So for example, here the Queen of Swords is Pallas, like Athena Pallas, the goddess, the Greek goddess. For the King of Swords we have King David from the Bible, Caesar as the King of Wands. Yeah, I think Alexander the Great might be in the suit of, yeah, he's the King of Coins, which I guess makes sense. So that's another interesting layer to this deck. Like there's definitely quite a lot to get into. It's more of a study project, this one, but then I know that, you know, once I get into it, I'll also be enjoying using it for divination, etc., because I really enjoy the look of it. It did come with an extra significated card as well, just like in the Litha, which is beautiful. I like, gorgeous. I don't really use those in my personal readings, but I think I'm definitely keep that for like bookmark or something. It's beautiful. I forgot to say if any of you have resources that you enjoy for the Litha Tarot I was just talking about. If you recommend books or podcasts or anything like that, or videos, whatever, let me know. I always enjoy hearing your recommendations. And of course, I'll be sharing with you in future videos the resources I found helpful. Maybe I'll do a separate, like a dedicated videos on it or something, but I thought it was interesting. Okay, let's move on to the next deck. I wanted to show you still from Amazon. So this is a French deck called L'Oracle de Lucie by Grimaud, but this is actually in collaboration with a YouTuber tarot reader called Yena, but her YouTube channel is called Soul Shadow Tarot, and he has released 4 oracles in collaboration with Grimaud. They all look like little like packets of cigarettes type of boxes, which are really cute. They're all quite small. They all have a different theme. The one I wanted the most was this one because it was the most colorful and the one that I knew I would use the most. So as you can see, it's quite mini, it's really cute. And I'll put the link to her channel below for all of my French viewers. If you don't watch her tarot videos, you definitely need to. She's a great tarot reader. She does a lot of tarot readings and tarot topic videos, and there's just like really great videos. So I'll put the link to her channel below. This one is dedicated to being like a friendly kind of deck that you can go to. Behind this card you have a QR code that you can scan where you're gonna get a video from Yena explaining you how to use a deck, and you also get some keywords cards. And here are the other games that were part of the same collection. I only got this one, but you have like 3 other ones. This is the one I wanted, the Lucie one. Because I felt like it would be a great tarot deck that would pair really well with many of my great oracle deck, sorry, that would pair really well with my any of my tarot decks. Like it's super colorful, the keywords are just very varied, and I feel like this is gonna be one of those pocket knife, Swiss knife type of decks that you can use for everything. You can use it for divination, you can use it on your own, you can use it with tarot decks, you can use it for predictive reading, you can use it for creating spreads, you can use it for everything. So I love those little kind of oracle decks that are multi-purpose. And I love the format, etc. Plus I really enjoy the artwork. The artwork is done by Alice Witzel, so beautiful. So here, for example, we have compassion, here we have the gift, here we have illusion, we have the end, the revelation, very tarot vibes, right, from the tarot. We have the pose, we have the heritage, resources, stress. As you can see, it's a French deck, but I find the keywords super easy to understand. Like most of the keywords paired with the images, you know what's going on, even if you don't speak French. I think this is a prayer, like you know what's going on. This is a spy, maybe the only one that's a little bit harder, but there's like, this is a news card, for example, makes sense. And I love this like 80s vibe, you know, 90s vibe cell phone. We have flee, the contract. As you can see, it's like quite easy to understand. Money card, love it. So I really like this combination of the artwork, keyword, simple, easy to understand. The reason why I got this deck as well is because there's definitely a modern vibe to it, with and also like different skin tones, and I really appreciate that. Like one of the cards particularly, let me find my favorite card, this one, authenticity. We see I love this card very much. So yeah, it's modern, it's fun, it's like multi-purpose. Let's move on to the next oracle deck. This is another French deck, and it's called Les Cartes Divinatoires d'Algariel by Alcide Nathanael. So Alcide is a creator and artist, and this is a mass market oracle deck in French, retails for 21 euros. I love this box because you can get the cards and the guidebook all in one. It's like, thank you. You know, perfect. It's compact, perfect. You get a little guidebook that is both in French and in English. So this is perfect for me to show you on my channel, because I get a lot of messages a lot of the time for people who say, I really want to get into French decks and can you show me French decks, which by the way, I'm definitely gonna be making a dedicated video to my French decks. I'll be sharing with you how easy they are to use, if you speak French, if you don't speak French, even if you don't understand French, can you use them, or how easy are they to understand, etc. That's coming. But this one, it's really cool because half of the guidebook is in French and half of the guidebook is in English. So, and you get for each of the cards, you get keywords, you get a divination message, and also you get past life related messages, because this deck was also created with the idea to explore past life. This is a very unique deck in my collection. It feels very haunted, this deck, and I think it's perfect for past life exploration, which is kind of why I decided to get it. I don't really have many decks for past life exploring or for this kind of like communicating with like the spirit world, you know, this kind of like spirit talk, and yet this deck was very much built with that in mind. Divination or communicating with spirit, with the dead, etc., which I don't have anything in my collection that is kind of like designed for that. Of course, you can use any deck for that, by the way, you don't need a specific deck for it. But I really fell in love with the artwork of it, which feels very haunting. And as you can see, each card, there's not even a keyword, it's just a number, and then you can refer to the guidebook. So it has a system, it has a structure, which is almost like the Lenormand, but the artist's own system. What really drew me to it though is this very hauntingly beautiful, feels like you're peeking through the veil, feels like you're reaching to talk to the dead vibes. I can't explain it, but I think it's very, very well suited for past life or for spirit work. Just from the aesthetic of it, it's very intuitive, and you also could use it for divination because the way it's built, it also is along the, you know, traditional French decks for divination, such as the Belline. This is gonna be a very unique experience for me. Like, I have like quite specific way I want to use this deck for. I think for potentially I would be using this deck on its own. I'm not sure yet. I would be pairing it with tarot. It's gonna be a unique kind of work. I feel like it's not gonna be the deck I want to do just daily card pulls with, right? This is I can sense the way I want to use it is to communicate, for example, with my ancestors, or maybe to explore some past lives, things like that. But I'm excited. I don't really have anything that I enjoy in my collection that are designed to be for that purpose. I have a tarot deck that was created for past life exploration. I just can't connect to it. Super excited to get to work with it and explore this other side of card pulling, because there's so many things you can do with tarot and oracle deck. Like, there's so many aspects of it, and I'm greedy. I want to explore them all and I want to share all of them with you as well. So I'm excited to get to know that, and again, expect more info, review, my thoughts, etc. when I actually have used it, so in future videos, like favorite videos, etc. And finally, oh my god, this is the last deck, so I don't know how many decks, how many decks did I actually show you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 decks. Wow, okay, I really outdid myself there. But like I said, they're not all bought at the same time. It just happens to be that everything was happening at the same time. And I'm very excited to have all of those decks to play with now. So last deck I want to talk about is, again, French mass market deck, oracle deck called Horoscope Belline. So you might know the Belline Oracle as a very, I'll try and insert a picture somewhere, very like traditional divination French deck. Like for any fortune tellers, the Belline is very much used in French. A lot. It's like one of those decks that you see a lot with like l'Oracle de la Triade and those kind of decks. There is another deck by one of Belline's called L'Horoscope Belline, and so this is it. The backs really cute, and again, because it's Grimaud, it's like super quite compact kind of cards, which I love, and I think those might be my favorite backs like ever. Is that a big bold statement? It's definitely in my top 3 favorite backs, because it's like those little 2 doves and the sun, but also, depending how you look at it, it looks like the sun with 2 hands putting the hands on its cheeks, like, you know, the little embarrassed emoji. And I find it super cute. So I love this back. I need to edge it in gold. I think it would look really cool. And so even though it's called L'Horoscope Belline, it doesn't really have, from what I can tell anyway, doesn't really have much to do with horoscopes. Like, it doesn't have cards for each of the signs. It's definitely more like, again, kind of this type of like pocket swift, multi-purpose oracle deck, balance, light and shadow cards. You can do predictive readings with, you can do personal development readings with, you can pair with tarot decks, you can pair with Lenormand, goes with everything. We love those kind of decks. Again, you might notice there is the keyword in French and the keyword in English. So for all of you, my English viewers watching, you could definitely use this deck. And you know, I think the guidebook is also, let me check, but I feel like the guidebook is also in English. It's in German, in English, and in French. So beautiful, we love that. This is inspired by traditional cartomancy, like traditional fortune telling and divination, and I love those type of decks because, like I said, there's so much you can do with them. I love the colors, I love that they have redone it to a more modern style, that it's super colorful, that it's like easy to pair with lots of things. There's like light and shadow cards, and it's brilliant. I love those decks. There's so many ways you can use them. There's some more shadow, like, you know, there's some more harder cards like the Unchained, but there's definitely some more joyous cards, like we have Danger, Zeal, Ideal, like I love this. This is one of my favorite cards, this beautiful wisdom card here. And we have quote from Belline as well here. So really excited to be using this oracle deck. It's still in order because, like I said, my friend literally left yesterday. I haven't had a chance to play with them, but I already know that it's gonna be one of those that I can also use on my channel a ton for like my picker card readings and stuff. So my friends, this is it. We have reached the end of my epic deck haul, my like mid-year deck haul. I don't see myself having another deck haul for at least another 3 months. We'll see. Like I said, when I order decks, they usually all come at once. I'm still waiting for many decks I ordered in 2021 and in 2020, some Kickstarters, some pre-orders, and some even like book depositories that are just traveling the world and I don't know where the fuck they are, but I'm hoping at one point they will come to my mailbox. We're hoping. I'm being patient and I'm learning patience. Definitely stay tuned for future videos where I mention the decks, how I use them, etc., in favorites, etc. You might see more of them on my Instagram as well, so you can find me there. Thank you so much if you've made it this far. If you have made it this far, you can leave me a little sun emoji or a little sunshine or something like that. I did have my little sun pendant accompanying us. The sun is my yearly card and I'm making the fool of it. So I had that here to give us some good vibes, and so if you've made it this far, you can leave me a little sunshine emoji. And until my next video, as per usual, I'm sending you so much good vibes and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!